Greetings from hell. That is somewhere in this world, this hell, that is this entire world, and every square inch of it. Well, I had a little bit of a want to do a video, even if there's not much going on in my mind, but I sat down on the computer and sat down here at the desk and saw like a one little ant crawling on the desk, which not a good sign usually. So I look around, and sure enough, there's a line marching towards the garbage. So I guess they found something sweet, something they like. So then I spent the next hour or more cleaning up, throwing out cardboard, throwing out the garbage, scrubbing, spraying cement spray around the back door where they came from, vacuuming them up, spraying inside of the little hand vacuum just in case. And even that's evil. I mean, it is for the ants. They're just hungry. But maybe if I show this, it'll make it okay. They're just ants. They're just hungry. Uh-huh. We got a little delay here. Let's do that again. Yeah. Maybe I should just watch myself in delay a few seconds. That should be fun. Seems less crazy than most people are doing, or at least what they're doing inside their heart. Okay, so let's put this away. We don't need this, I don't think, anymore. Oh, I don't know. Let's just click something somewhere real quick. What is this? Jeremiah? Yeah. Okay. These evil people who refuse to hear my words, who follow the dictates of their hearts, and walk after other gods to serve them and worship them, shall be just like this sash, which is profitable for nothing. For as the sash clings to the waist of a man, so I have caused the whole house of Israel and the whole house of Judah to cling to me, says Jehovah, that they may become my people, for renown, for praise, for glory, but they would not hear. And then he will fill them with drunkenness. This is that spiritual drunkenness, the insanity, where nothing makes sense spiritually. I will not pity nor spare nor have mercy, but I will destroy them. So every believer now is being destroyed, because that's what has to be done, because we're evil. That's what needs destroyed. The last video I did, I think It got cut off for a little bit in the beginning. Didn't really have anything much to say in the beginning. Anything special except something about, I think, Trump winning in the whole world. Well, I mean, there's a lot of haters too. Every popular man has their haters too. It's just the way it is. Or every famous, rich, whatever, powerful person, whether entertainment or president or whatever, has all their haters too. For evil reasons, not for good reasons or because they do good, but for, envy, for just wrath, for hating, for picking sides, for being partial, whatever. But Trump and Elon Musk is going to save the world, and we can look forward to better days. I think even red dye is being eliminated from food. Thank goodness for Trump and his sidekick. They found a lot of trash, a lot of garbage, saving billions now. Let's see how much they're saving. Because on this new debt clock, or on the debt clock, there's a new thing somewhere. Where is it? Mr. Musk and company put on there. Where is it? Ah, there it is. It's in the main corner here. The Doge clock. The doggy clock. They are saving, what is that, 138 billion? 168 million? Although the main national debt keeps going in the red more, 36.5 trillion, on our way to 37 fast. Probably 38 by the end of the year. Another 1.5, I'm sure it'll go that fast. Maybe even worse than that. This is insanity. This is what insanity looks like. Here it is. This is what you have to be worried about with the world, caring about the world, loving the world and all the things in it. Here's behold, this is loving the world. This is the cares of the world. A bunch of insane numbers, all automatically moving thanks to AI or whatever. Not much to say about this, but except it's insane confusion. Nobody's paying their debt, so I guess everyone's going to have to pay the debt soon as a punishment, because all debts have to be paid, and this is not acceptable. That's not going to stand. This entire country is not going to stand. It's going to pay for its debt one way or another, whether that's paying with a bomb or paying with some kind of electrical EMP, whatever attack. The world's going to pay for its debt. I see your adulteries and your lustful neighings, the lewdness of your harlotry, your abominations on the hills and the fields. Woe to you, O Jerusalem! Will you not be made clean? Will you still not be made clean? Therefore, when we could no longer endure it, we thought it good to be left in Athens alone, and sent Timothy, our brother and minister of Elohim, and our fellow laborer in the gospel of Messiah, to establish you and encourage you concerning your faith, that no one should be shaken by these afflictions. For you yourselves know that we are appointed to this. For in fact, we told you before when we were with you that we would suffer tribulation, just as it happened, and you know. For this reason, when I could no longer endure it, I sent to your faith, lest by some means the tempter had tempted you, and our labor might be in vain. But now that Timothy has come to us from you and brought us good news of your faith and love, and that you always have good remembrance of us, greatly desiring to see us as we also to see you. Therefore, brethren, in all our affliction and distress, we were comforted concerning you by your faith. For now we live if you stand fast in the Master. Night and day, praying exceedingly that we may see your face and perfect what is lacking in your faith. And we see this at that we may establish your hearts blameless in holiness before Elohim and Father at the coming of our Master Yehoshua Messiah with all his saints. This saying here is fairly often at the coming or the day of the day, at that day, the coming of that day with all his saints. 1 Thessalonians 3:13, 31:3. That day just might not be so far away. That day that he speaks of. Because there must be a day. There is a day where all of this evil age that we read, this whole age is evil. The entire age is evil, all 6 days. Because those are our own works. 6 days, man will do your own works. You do your own works. The Father did his own works during the 6 days. He created everything during those first 6 days and then rested from his work. On the 6th day, he created the greatest abomination that he ever created, which is mankind, Adam and Eve. And like a good friend told me, this is the evil that he created and repented for creating, that he was grieved, sorry in his heart that he created the evil that he created, and he repented from it and turned away from it. He turned away from his creating 6 days and rested. On the 7th day, he rested from his own works that he created. He repented by turning away from his works, the evil works that he created. And now we do those evil works. Well, believers are supposed to learn not to do them, but we've all done these evil works, still do. Need to stop until perfected. Everybody's been given these evil works to do, and they've been doing it faithfully since Adam and Eve. Nobody does evil better than mankind. Nobody runs from the truth better than Eve and Adam, covering up their nakedness, running to the sticks, running to the hills. Like we just read something about on the hills, there are abominations on the hills. I wonder what's going on the hills at the hilltops. I can only imagine. As long as it's abomination, it's righteous in man's eyes. The more sick and perverted it is, the more glorious it is, the better it is. The better it pleases the flesh. The more evil that man does, the more awake he becomes, the more his eyes are opened. Like we read in Genesis, your eyes will be opened, says the devil, not forgetting who said that. If you sin, your eyes will be opened. If you disobey the Father's command not to eat from this tree of mixed garbage, good and evil, no discerning between the good and the evil, it's all one, it's all evil in their eyes. They only see evil. They don't see two things. They don't see good and evil. They just see evil, which means that for every evil work that there is, for every law that's broken, there's a good way to keep it that looks just like the evil way. And these look exactly the same inside someone's mind and heart. That's not discerning and separating the two. It looks identical for an image to the mind. And that goes for every law, for every little detail of the law, for every sin, for every evil that's done. There's a good way to keep that thing and not do the evil, to not break that law, but to keep the good thing. And that will look just like the evil thing to people, to Adam and Eve. So when good is done, this world will call it evil. Every single time without fail. If a believer does any good work in this world and it's going to be seen as evil, not good, because it looks just the same to somebody as the evil that they do and are familiar with since birth, since it was crying and screaming, prideful and rage, face red, eyes full of tears, full of wonder. What on earth is it doing here? It came from the darkness and it's going back in it. The world started in darkness. In the beginning, there was a chaos and it's going in it to finish the age. It's going back into chaos. It's always been chaos and it's going into chaos. Train going by. I don't know. The noise suppression thing is on, so might be blocking some of that out. I'd have it off, but this microphone picks up a little whiny noise, staticky whiny noise from the phone. So I leave it on. So if man sins, the devil says your eyes will be open. Therefore, following that command and belief as if it were true, and in a way it is true because man is believing it. Whatever someone believes, that becomes real to them. The delusion becomes reality. The more rank, higher rank, to be higher ranked in this world, you have to do more rank sin. You have to be initiated. That's what the top secret organizations, I'm sure they all do it with their rituals. Everything is a game and a ritual in this world. Sacrificing here, sacrificing there. Spilling, drinking blood, to gain more power from the devil, from God, the God of this world. The devil, who they call God, who the Pharisees call God. But Messiah corrected them and said, your father is the devil. You don't know God. You don't know Elohim. If you knew him, you would have accepted me. You would have believed me. Because Messiah came from Elohim. How did he come from Elohim? Because he was filled up with his spirit, the spirit that came from above down to Messiah from birth. He was filled up with the spirit. And this is how Messiah came from above. Not the way the church world says he came. From literal heaven. Went from human to God-man to God-baby. Was born. Grew up again. Forgot everything he knew. Lost his power. The abomination that the church world believes. Probably worse than the Pharisees believed at the time. I don't even think they believed these things back then about the one to come, that is Messiah. This is how Messiah came. He was born of a woman, born the natural way, like everyone is, like everything is. The only one not born this way is the Creator. He's not born. God is not born. God does not get birthed by a woman that he created in the first place. What an abomination. Messiah is not the creator. He did the Father's will, which is the example for every believer to do the Father's will, to find out what that will is and do his will, keep the commands, to not eat from the tree of good and evil, to separate those things and know what each one is, and then to be a good tree and then separate the bad tree. There needs to be a good tree and a bad tree. It can't be mixed. It can't be that good and evil is on one thing touching each other as one. That's the abomination. So the wicked, they like the Father's word for evil reasons, for carnal reasons. They're fascinated with it. They self-fulfill their own prophecy, like me and another believer and friend believes and agrees that this is what they've always done, and they're going to continue to do it until the end. And this is part of the strong delusion that the letter of his word is being fulfilled. People will think so anyways, as prophecy in this world, but they're self-fulfilling it. That's what it is. It's a circle jerk of some sort, because no man's an actual prophet. We read about something about, I'm just a farmer boy. I'm just a poor farmer. I'm no prophet. I'm like a donkey, corrected by a donkey. We don't have anything unless it's given. So man himself isn't anything. He's nothing. But he likes taking credit when he guesses something right, which people do all the time. Take a guess. They have a 50% chance, and then they act like they knew. They didn't know anything. And whatever they're talking about is worthless anyway, so even if they did know something about some carnal thing, so what? That's not truth. So these evil frogs that rule this world, they do more of the rank sin, abominable things, to gain more power. Because to follow in the lust of the devil, to follow the lust of the flesh, you gain some kind of wicked, worldly, carnal power. And you're rewarded in this world, in this life, for doing evil. As Messiah said, this is their reward. They have their reward now. See them, look at them. That's their reward. They want people to worship them and love them and praise them. Well, they get it. That's their reward. And a believer has to see that they're getting that for doing evil. It's pretty sick to really see it. It's an abomination to see it. It's an abomination to see that the wicked grow stronger carnally and richer. The wicked increase in riches, like we read. And then they'll believe God is on their side, just like King David did. To think that the Creator ever commanded or tempted any man to cut someone's head off with their own sword and raise it in the air and say, I have victory, God is with us, is the most delusional thing that I can think of. The most evil, despicable, vile, sick thing that I could think of is cutting someone's head off and saying, God is with me. And that's the best King David could do. It's the best any man could do. It's that he believed it was God, he believed that. It's what everyone believes when they do evil. They justify their evil instantaneously. So it's not just him, it's everyone. And this is the best that people could do. Samson, he killed a bunch of men before he killed himself, took himself out, suicide. His last dying wish was to take out as many of his enemies as possible. This is a wrathful, evil, destroyed heart and soul. David's last wish on his dying bed was to wipe out his enemies and spill more blood, to command somebody else to, do that for him. Do this for me, son. You could just picture it, like they show in the movies. That's real. That's how it would have been like, how they show in the movies, because that's what people do right now. That's how it is. Son. And they're so self-righteous. They're like shining with this false light. Yes, Father. Yes, Dave. Yes, whoever. We'll follow you. We'll do what you say. We'll clear your name. In your name, we will spill their blood. We will repay. We will take vengeance. And some dumb prophet in the wilderness is screaming, echoing in the distance, screaming out this word to David, to all the people. Some lonely prophet from a cave with bats everywhere flying around his head, spider webs. He's getting rained on from some cloud. He's dirty and nasty looking, and he's screaming, remember the scripture. You disobey the word. You do evil. Do not say to yourself, I will take vengeance. I will repay. Only Jehovah takes vengeance and repays. Do not say to yourself, I will repay. I will take vengeance. Do not ever say to yourself, did you forget Proverbs? David and Bob and Joe? That word's always true. And then someone kills him with an arrow from afar. Kills the dirty prophet speaking the truth. David actually commanded to kill him. See, go kill him, finish him off. I don't want to hear the truth. Everything about everything is backwards and wrong. All of it has to start from nothing, from zero. Wipe out everything that it ever learned and knew. It's all wrong, 100% wrong and evil, backwards, and start over and let the Creator teach one by one what the whole world's not learning. To actually keep that word, to never take vengeance, to never repay from self. That means never do evil to anyone. I'm pretty sure King David never kept that. Neither did Samson, neither did the other kings of Israel. And if the kings aren't doing it, then the people aren't, because the leader, if he's headed for the ditch, then so are all the people that follow the leader. You think Trump keeps the command? Think Elon Musk keeps the command? When are people going to stop worshiping the man? Never. But it is for a believer to care about that and not worship the man and trust the man and put all his faith in the man like everyone's doing. They're being worshiped. And before that, Biden, who cares what they are, what name it is, he's being worshiped. And the one before that, he's being worshiped. These leaders, these kings of US, no different than kings of Israel. Jerusalem was never the true Jerusalem all along, the whole time. Otherwise, what was Messiah for? What was the Spirit given for if this already was so before that? Nobody can answer that in the church world. What was the Spirit given for at Messiah's resurrection? That was never given before, that the prophets of old sought after and were looking for that, and they never saw and never heard. Just exactly like we read, they never saw and never heard the things that you, the believers, he's saying, the things that you are seeing now, hearing and seeing, they never heard or saw. And Messiah said, all before me were robbers and thieves. All that came before me were robbers and thieves. No doubt that if you take a man's life, you're definitely a robber at the very least. You robbed life. You robbed the Creator by robbing someone's life. Jehovah says, will you now rob me? There's 1,000 different ways to rob the Creator, to rob the Father. Just doing evil to another person is robbing him. Forgetting that verse already to say, I will never take vengeance, I will never repay, like we read somewhere in Proverbs. So how could it be that someone believes that the Creator commands man to go and kill and wipe out nations even? How could someone believe that he does that? When we, each individual, are never supposed to repay or take vengeance, ever. That verse always stands. When does it not stand? Well, today and tomorrow and the next. That's when it doesn't stand. It stands when it doesn't stand whenever I don't want it to stand. I don't know of any verse that does away with that verse. When did Messiah take vengeance on his enemy? Isn't he the perfect example? And not David and not Samson and all the other kings of Israel? Isn't Messiah the actual king, and that's why they murdered him, because he was the true king? This is what a true king is. He turns the other cheek. He keeps the word he teaches. Nobody else is keeping whatever they teach. Nobody else is keeping ever. They don't lift up a finger for what they talk about, even if they say true words. False prophet, they do say true words with the mouth plenty of times, and they quote scripture and whatnot. But do they lift a finger to really keep those things in the heart? Do they even lift a finger to keep any of them themselves? Or did they just come out of a stinky hotel knowing what, what they just did? Getting, get the suitcase with the special drugs and stuff. Like, what was that? Something I saw a while back. Some famous preacher man, right? And then when he's in the building with all his bodyguards and stuff, all right, fix me up, fix me up. And he's basically drooling, passing out. He's getting himself ready for a sermon. Loaded with riches, loaded with the love of money in his heart, with the cares of this world. How is it that someone could believe that's what a believer is? That's a believer right there. That's rich, famous, and loved by the world. I thought Messiah said that believers won't be loved by the world, that they'll be hated. They'll be hated just like they hated him. If they hated me, they will hate you. That's a command. Adam and Eve run from that. They're afraid of that. They don't want truth. They want an easy way. Who wouldn't? Who wouldn't want an easy way? There is no easy way. It doesn't exist for a believer or an unbeliever. Creator will make sure you suffer. That seems to be what he likes to do, is make sure we suffer. Just like Messiah suffered. And Messiah learned through suffering, not through not suffering. There is no verse that says you learn through not suffering. Only the opposite. If Messiah learned, then that means he didn't know things. You can't truly learn what you already know. It defeats and contradicts the whole entire purpose and meaning of the word learn. So if he learned through suffering, then he learned things he didn't know. He's doing things he's not done. Learning to choose the good and put away the evil. Isn't that like a prophecy that points towards Messiah? He will eat the whatever and honey and like learn to choose the good and put away the evil. No, but Messiah can't learn. He's God. He's just pretending to be a man and pretending to learn. Therefore, he's a wicked deceiver. He's just deceiving us all. He didn't actually learn. He already knew everything. He didn't suffer. He just pretended to, since none of this was hard for him because he was God. And even getting killed wasn't hard for him. He just put on an act, knowing he's God and all-powerful. And plus, he knew he would be raised again. So it was no big deal to get murdered. Yeah, okay. I mean, I guess that's what you have to believe when you believe the lie. I don't know. The Son of Man is not the Son of Man. He's not a man. Every lying doctrine they teach is an abomination and strays far from the truth. All of it's a lie. Truth has to be done from the intention of the heart. Even if you say true words, if you didn't have the intention to speak truth from the heart, that wasn't truth. As strong as it looked like and sounded like it was truth, it wasn't truth. Is it truth that someone says something true but they never keep it themselves? Is that truth? Or is that just hypocrisy? Messiah called them hypocrites and snakes, the best, the most wise, the most righteous people on earth, the leaders of Jerusalem. He called them those things because that's what they were. I wonder what they are today. I wonder if anything's changed. No, nothing has changed. Man doesn't change. Man doesn't change. This world doesn't change. That's why it likes to talk about change, because it's guilty of never changing for the good. Its definition of change is just like every other definition for everything. It's some devil definition of some carnal thing that has nothing to do with truth, that's connected to this world, about this world, for this world. Like some truth about computers. What does that have to do with change? That's not about the heart. We changed this, we changed that. We changed our rules for how we handle business. None of that has to do with change. It just has to do with things to make more money. That's it. For some product, change the product to make more money. Change this, change that. That's not the definition of the change that we read of. So that's what everyone does constantly. They apply carnality as the spiritual thing, and it has nothing to do with truth. If someone pretended like, okay, I can have all the power in this world, what would you do? What would someone think they would do if you had all the power in the world? As much power as possible, in the world, what would people do if they had that power? Would they do good? Obviously not. They would try to fulfill the letter of his word, which kills. They would try to self-fulfill prophecy, what looks and sounds like prophecy on the outside, reading the letter of his word, and then make it come to life, because that's what breathing life into the beast is believing a lie. That's the breath. The lie becomes real and moves and has its being, almost as if it's alive and living, like a real living thing. But it's an image. And then this image has power, and it has life. This image of the beast that comes to life because people believe it. And they give it power by believing in it. They give it a false, evil, satanic power. And with this power, it only does evil. It doesn't do any good. With this power, with this even technology, it would like to live forever. That's the title. That was what I was trying to remember of the video, living forever. Eternal life is just living forever. They would want to live forever in this condition, in this corrupt body of sin and death. They would like to make death permanent by living forever, which is what living forever would do. It would make death permanent. It would always be around. It would never go away. It would never get buried once and for all. It would be alive forever. And maybe even through technology, find a way to live forever by putting the soul in some robot. But this is what I believe in, what I stand on firmly, that can't actually ever be done and won't be done, because it's the greatest abomination that there is, and the Father won't allow such a thing to be done. Not something like that. As much evil as he allows man to do, that's not one that's ever going to be done. Is man breaking all his truth, all his word, bypassing the spinning sword and going to life, to the tree of life, without needing to die by his word and through his word, that spinning sword. Bypassing it, breaking all his word and all his truth, and then permanently cementing death as a living thing by staying alive forever in corruption, which is the thing that is not possible, which is the greatest abomination that defeats all truth and the whole purpose of truth. That's why we read that in Genesis, because it can't be so that someone enters life unless they go through that sword, which requires getting cut up to death to destroy the flesh. And even the literal flesh dies, and it applies. It even applies carnally, that the wages of sin is death, and nobody gets to live forever because the wages of sin is death. And even though that's not the spiritual understanding, that someone literally dies because the wages of sin is death, it still applies. It still seems to apply very much so. The natural teaching the spiritual. But to enter life, one has to start dying to the old man now. So this is a type of death, a destruction that's happening. This destruction and death needs to happen to believers in order to get to the tree of life. It has to go through that sword, through his rules, through his law, that one needs to die in order to live. That's the only way to life, is to die to self. And that's the spiritual understanding, what Messiah taught about dying. And then we read, to die daily. I die daily. This is how someone can die daily without being buried in the literal ground over and over again and popping back up. Up, kill him, get him down again. He's popped back up. Paul just keeps dying daily, and he keeps rising again. Kill that bastard again. Put him in prison and do the same thing over again. No one will visit him, save a couple people, and kill him again. Oh, there he is again. He popped back up. Kill him again. And now Paul says, I die daily. That's why he says I die daily, because he kept resurrecting literally from literal death over and over again. No, that's not the understanding. That's not the spiritual understanding. And spiritual understanding is to cut off the hand that causes sin, to pluck out the eye that causes sin. Spiritually. Because even doing that literally doesn't touch the spirit, so that's not the understanding either, is to cut yourself. Which goes back a long ways, cutting yourself, tattooing, whatever, all that stuff. Nothing's new under the sun. That's what he doesn't want us to do, that, literally. But Messiah is speaking of that sinful body, that old man, to cut off the things so that you enter into life. It's better to enter into life maimed, all cut up, beaten up, broken, than to be whole, not cut up, but to be strong and whole. and to enter that hellfire all at once, body and soul, to be burned at once. It's better to enter life cutting off bit by bit, piece by piece. This is better. There's two ways. That's the better way. That's better than being whole and not cut up, not cutting off the hand that sins, not dying to the old man, not destroying the old man. It's better than what's going to happen to that man anyways. His whole body is going to burn in Gehenna fire or hell all at once. So those are the two ways. Which way does somebody want? Because both sound like hell. Those are the two ways for everyone. That's reality. There's no other way. There's no third way. There's no fifth way. But everyone's selling a different way out there. Frantically selling a different way, desperately trying to believe and deceive itself that there's some other way besides dying. So this is why that will never happen. That man will never live forever in his sinful condition. He will never do that. Here's what he would have to do in order to do that. He would have to see the spirit of a man. He would have to capture it, that which is invisible, that which can't be touched physically. He would have to capture it and have his way with it, rape it, and then put it in some kind of robot body, and then activate the spirit, tell the spirit to give the robot life, connect to it somehow, however that happens, energize it. And now somehow this robot, this man, his spirit that was saved somehow and transported to an AI robot, and now he lives forever. I live forever. Ha, 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 ha. I fooled God. You said wages of sin are death, but I'm a mother effing robot. Screw you. I figured it out. Screw you. I may be a robot, but at least I'm alive. My spirit is within my body. I made the Creator to be out the greatest liar that ever was. We fooled him. Ha, ha, ha. We got you good. We proved God is a liar. I live forever now. I will live forever now in wickedness. No, that abomination's not happening. Man's not going to capture the spirit that goes back to the Creator when someone dies. There's nothing to even handle. There's nothing to rape. The spirit's gone. It goes back to where it came from. The giver. That's what we read. The spirit goes back to the Creator who gave it. So what, man's going to go on a rocket ship, chase the spirit? I could just see it now, some crazy, insane man, full of wrath and wickedness, full of perversion. 3,000 miles per hour, he's trying to chase that spirit that's going back to Elohim before it gets there. It's getting away, it's getting away. Kick on the boosters. We're getting closer. He's got some special goggles so he could see spirit. We're getting closer. A special light so that he can see the spirit combined with his special goggles. We're getting closer to the spirit. There it is. See, look at it. Capture it. What a bunch of insanity. Does anyone actually believe something like that can happen? If the Creator was proven a liar by man, it would be over. Everything would be over. What could you trust if the Creator's a liar himself, who says he's not, that he does not lie? Everything he says will be done, will be done. Whatever he makes stand, it stands. Whatever he purposes, that's what happens. And no one can stop it. We read that too. So no, there's no such thing. So trying is wicked. Trying is a vicious, evil heart to try to make the Father look like a liar by living forever. Trying is wicked. It takes an evil heart to try to delve into that area and try. All kinds of evils being done through AI. Evils never possible, never thought of before it. What can't man do now with this? What can't he do? There's like nothing he can't do with this kind of power. It's being advertised everywhere. It's even already on YouTube. People making it look like people said and did something, and they look pretty real that they never did or said. It's just AI. Someone just programmed it, and they're already looking pretty real for the casual person to do. I wonder what the best looks like, because the best, we don't have the best. Surely we don't. Surely some YouTuber doesn't have the best that actually exists somewhere at the top. So whatever we see, it's probably even better. But it's looking pretty ugly, though. It's not looking so good. It's looking like to me that the sins are about finished and complete, going up into the heavens, filling it up, all the sin filling it up. And then at some point, the Creator knows perfectly the sins are filled up, and then judgment comes. And that's just enough. It's over. It's enough. Whatever that point, whatever that moment is, he knows perfectly, but it sure looks like that moment's not very far away. It's not far away. Now, who would want to continue to go to the tree of life after they find out what the truth is? Who would want to keep going? You'd have to be insane in this world to want to keep going. A special kind of insane. We can't do it by our own power or will. So he has to give us this want to be insane, to keep going, for no carnal reward, for no carnal gain, for not to be loved by this world, for not to love riches or have hope of that. For all the things that somebody would love and dream about, all those things die. They don't even exist. They're not allowed to be in your mind. And who would keep going still? For invisible rewards, for just doing what's right. Everything the world does is easy. It's an easy way in that kind of way. Not that it's going to be easy for that soul that does evil, but the way that people create is easy. It's an easy, disgusting way. And that's what people want. So that then it's sold. That's what's sold, because that's what people want. So the person selling knows that's what people want. So they tell them what they want to hear and see and know and sell it. And people buy it by believing it. It's hard to comprehend how corrupt the mind and heart is of this carnal man. It's hard to comprehend how far off it is in everything. That's how bad it is. Woe to those who go down to Egypt for help and rely on horses, who trust in chariots because they are many, and in horsemen because they are very strong, but who do not look to the Holy One of Israel nor seek Jehovah. Yet he also is wise and will bring disaster, and will not call back his words, but will arise against the house of evildoers and against the help of those who work iniquity. Now the Egyptians are men and not Elohim, and their horses are flesh and not spirit. When Jehovah stretches out his hand, both he who helps will fall, and he who is helped will fall down. They will all perish together. Remember, I mentioned, I might have already, well, a good chunk of the last video got cut off because I accidentally did that without knowing it. But another thought that came to mind about the day is like 1,000 years. Let's find that in Psalm first and read that. Psalm 94. Psalm 94. We read that in the New Testament, but this is the verse that it's alluding to. For 1,000 years in your sight are like yesterday when it's past, and like a watch in the night. You carry them away like a flood. They are like a sleep. In the morning they are like grass which grows up. In the morning it flourishes and grows up. In the evening it is cut down and withers. For we have been consumed by your anger, and by your wrath we are terrified. For all our days have passed away in your wrath. We finish our years like a sigh. The days of our lives are 70 years, and if by reason of strength they are 80 years, yet their boast is only labor and sorrow. That's their boast, that's the best of it. For it is soon cut off, and we fly away. Who knows the power of your anger? For as the fear of you, so is your wrath. So teach us to number our days, that we may gain a heart of wisdom. Return, O Jehovah, how long, and have compassion on your servants. Satisfy us early with your mercy, that we may rejoice and be glad all our days. Make us glad according to the days in which you have afflicted us, the years in which we have seen evil. Let your work appear to your servants, and your glory to their children, and let the beauty of Jehovah our Elohim be upon us. Establish the work of our hands for us. Yes, establish the work of our hands. this verse here. We only read it one way that I know of. I don't know of another verse that has it the other way. And yet, where is it in the New Testament? A day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is like a day. 2 Peter 3:8. But the heavens and the earth, which are now preserved by the same word, are reserved for fire until the day of judgment and perdition of ungodly men. So there's that day again, until the day of judgment and perdition. But beloved, do not forget this one thing, that with Jehovah 1 day is as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years as 1 day. He says it both ways. Jehovah is not slack concerning his promise, as some count slackness, but is long-suffering towards us, not willing that any should perish, but all should come to repentance. But the day of Jehovah will come as a thief in the night, in which the heavens will pass away with a great noise, and the elements will melt with fervent heat. Both the earth and the works that are in it will be burned up. Therefore, since all these things will be dissolved, what manner of persons ought you to be in holy conduct and Elohimliness, looking for and hastening the coming of the day of Elohim, because of which the heavens will be dissolved, being on fire, and the elements will melt with fervent heat? Nevertheless, we, according to his promise, look for new heavens and a new earth, in which righteousness dwells. Be diligent, therefore, to be found by peace in him, without spot and blameless. Consider that the long-suffering of our Master is salvation, as also our beloved brother Paul, according to the wisdom given to him, has written to you. Speaking in of these things, in which some are hard things to understand, hard to understand, which untaught and unstable people twist to their own destruction, as they do also the rest of the scriptures. That's been proven to be utterly true. Beware lest you also fall from your own steadfastness, being led away with the error of the wicked. Grow in grace and knowledge of our Master and Savior, Yahushua Messiah. To him be the glory both now and forever. Amen. Where is that verse? Here. 2 Peter 3:8. With Jehovah 1 day is as 1,000 years. Someone could say, well, the Creator has it easy. He doesn't care. He's like a stone. He's not really even alive. He's just some kind of power or presence that doesn't care at all. A day is like 1,000 years after all. So it's nothing to him. You know, he doesn't suffer any. He doesn't bear anything. He's a hypocrite. He puts burdens for us to bear, but he doesn't bear anything himself. He commands, but he doesn't keep the command himself. He tells us to rest from our own works, but he doesn't rest from his own works. No, the exact opposite is true. He rested from his works first. And all the evil he created within 6 days, every thought, every intention, every possible thing that could be done, all the technology, every evil thought, every evil deed, he did it within those 6 days. To see that amount of evil and say this is how it's going to be must have been a heavy burden. We read that his burdens are heavy. Might as well find that verse too. If I can find it. Yeah, Isaiah 30:27. Behold, the name of Jehovah comes from afar, burning with his anger, and his burden is heavy. His lips are full of indignation, and his tongue like a devouring fire. His breath is like an overflowing stream, which reaches up to the neck, to sift the nations with the sieve of futility. And there shall be a bridle in the jaws of the people, causing them to err. His burden is heavy. Any word that speaks of the Creator, this is not like a man speaking about a man or any man. This is the truth to the highest and strongest degree when it speaks of him. So we read his burden is heavy. So he bears the burden of all the evils that he created. He created the light, he created the darkness, he created the good, he created the evil. I, Jehovah, do all these things. All these things. He did this from the beginning. So then someone might say, well, a day is like 1,000 years to him, so it's no big deal. 6,000 years pass away like 6 days to him. What burden? What does he care? It must not bother him much. He is God after all. Everything's easy for God. It's this false, corrupt belief without any understanding. The amount of burden that he has on himself, then, for it to be a burden for him, it would wipe out every creature on earth if someone received 1% of it. It would just kill them. It wouldn't be bearable for any man. All the people that ever lived together, all their strength couldn't bear 1% of whatever his burden must be like. So he created all these things in 6 days. But now, what about the 6 days that, okay, now it's just folding out, it's just going like a script. He created everything, he planned everything, he prophesied everything, he planned it all. And now it's just working out through time. So 6 days, that's like nothing to him. He must not care. He must not be there. He must not be here right now, impersonal like that, Someone can say, because that's what it sounds like, because that's what they are, hint, hint, because that's what they are, and that's what they do to others. Don't tell anyone that. Secret. But the 6 days that I see, the 6 days that he created, includes him being here. Somehow it's all one. The 6,000 years is all one. The 6 days is all one. And time isn't working like it is for us. We only see time the way we know it. That's it. But time must not work the same way with him. So it's all one. These things that are impossible for us are possible for him. So all those 6 days, each day, all those plans, everything he purposed includes him being here every minute of every day. Throughout the whole entire 6,000 years, it includes him being there, watching. As we read, he sees the works of the righteous and the unrighteous. He looks and watches. He's there. So it includes him being here every minute of every day. So that's a struggle to see and know that he's purposed all things and it will stand. There's nothing anyone can do to change it, to believe that truth. And also to believe and not almost act like it's not true, not to act, but for lack of a better word, to also act in a way, believe in a way as if that's not true, as if he's here. To pray, to ask for things like we read to do. Because will anything be answered if we don't? Will anything be given if we don't ask? We read, if we don't ask, you don't have because you don't ask. And if you do ask, you ask amiss, asking for riches and carnal things. So we read to ask. Messiah teaches to ask. You haven't asked anything until now, he said to the disciples. So he says, ask, so that you could receive, to believe it and ask for it and believe it to receive it. So somehow this is including him being here in the moment, someone asking for something, and then if it is something that's his will, and then something given, a truth given, an understanding given right now in this time, and yet somehow it's already finished. Somehow it's already done. And we are just sort of playing the tape. And it just needs to be done. It just needs to be play 6,000 years of time so that it's finished. Somehow it's all one and the same. That's true, while it's also true that he's here every day. But the interesting thing is, in Psalm we see it written only one way, but we read it here written. Oh, okay, I definitely closed it out now. But a day is like 1,000 years, and the other way is also said. 1,000 years is like a day. But he must have seen that you could do this with this truth. That if it applies one way, it applies the other way too, and he has the right to do that when he's given truth to see that you could do that. So it's true for 1,000 years in your sight are like yesterday or like one day. But it's also true that a day is like 1,000 years. That's a long day. So then 6 days would be like 6,000 years. 6 days that should go by very fast is like 6,000 years, painstakingly long. How could it be that both are true? Which one is it? Is a day like 1,000 years, or is 1,000 years like a day? Isn't that two opposite contradicting things? So it seems. So it is for us. But it must not be with him. All these things are just true somehow, where time isn't some kind of restriction born into time. 1,000 years is also, a day is like 1,000 years also. So it's a long time. It's also a short time. It seems to be just everything. I don't know that anybody can comprehend that. I guess we have to just accept that we can't really comprehend that and just believe the truth that that's what it's like for him, and that both are true for him. So then during those 6 days, it's also like 6,000 years. So it's not some easy, quick thing. He doesn't care. He's not here. Because the opposite's also true. That one day is like 1,000 years. But since we're not the creator, we can't actually comprehend what we've never seen or done before. Sort of just touching the surface, knowing like the truth, but not really seeing, like understanding it. Knowing what's true, but not really seeing how it works. Because how could we see something like that? That would be quite the revelation that would need to be given. But even then, we have to do something you can't understand fully what you've never done. We don't do the creator's works like that, the things he can do. Even though we're supposed to do the creator's works, that is the point of everything, to do his works and not our own. But that's a different thing, to do his works, to do things that he could do, the things he does that nobody could do. Like create an entire creation and everything in it. We can't do that. Nobody could do that. You can't underestimate pride, though. Pride could do anything. Foolish pride could do anything in its own delusional mind. So then we should just believe the truth then. Only seek the truth, not our own understanding like we read. That David was forgetting, obviously, and all the other kings forgot. Do not lean on your own understanding. That's a truth that's true every day. Do not lean on your own understanding. That's a command. Why do we read that? Because our own understanding is foolish evil, and it's only going to do evil. What we say truth is of our own understanding will be evil and backwards, and someone can count on that with their life. They could bet their life like a pink slip and never lose. They'll never lose their life. They'll live forever. Just keep on betting. You never lose on betting man is evil and that everything he does is backwards. You'll be right every time. Strong judgments. Destruction from Elohim is a terror to me because of his magnificence I cannot endure. If I made gold my hope, or said to find gold, you are my confidence. If I have rejoiced because my wealth was great, because my hand gained much. If I have observed the sun when it shines, or the moon moving in brightness. Yes, it is the moon that moves, not the earth, so that my heart has been secretly enticed and my mouth has kissed my hand. That also would be an iniquity deserving of judgment. For I would have denied Elohim who is above if I have rejoiced at the destruction of him who hated me. Rejoicing at the destruction of him who hated me. We're not supposed to do that either. Ever. Or lifted up myself when evil found him, to get off on it when evil found the person. Indeed, I have not allowed my mouth to sin by asking for a curse on his soul. We're not supposed to be asking for a curse on his soul, the enemy. Messiah said, bless and not curse. Bless your enemies and don't curse them. Everything about self is backwards, isn't it? If the men of my tent have not said, who is there that has not been satisfied with his meat? He goes on with all these various things, sins that someone can do. Basically saying, bring judgment on me if I break these things. Oh, that I had one to hear me. Here is my mark. Oh, that the Almighty would answer me. That my prosecutor had written a book. Surely I would carry it on my shoulder and bind it on me like a crown. I would declare to him the number of my steps. Like a prince, I would approach him. If I have eaten its fruit without money or caused its owner to lose their lives, then let thistles grow instead of wheat and weeds instead of barley. The words of Job are ended. Therefore, I abhor myself. He does get us to do that, to abhor self, to hate self a certain kind of way, to hate what the carnal man really is, to despise self. Job lived 140 years and saw his children and grandchildren for 4 generations. Job died old and full of days. I remember finding this verse interesting because we basically have 144 here. 140 years he lived, but then it says he saw his children and grandchildren for 4 generations. All the pride, all the evil, it all comes to nothing in the end. But nobody's thinking that right now, are they? They don't think like that. They're not thinking like that when they're doing evil. It's very focused and in tunnel vision to complete and do the evil that's on its mind, to take revenge, to get the vengeance, to make sure that someone gets what they deserve. It's not thinking that all these works are utterly vain, leading to more death of self, soul, and who knows what else. And then it's going to die anyways. Maybe it even uses that as an excuse to do evil. It's so corrupt. It says I'm going to die anyway, so I might as well do as much evil as I can before time runs out. Everything it thinks and does is backwards. Is there anything that it does right? I think that might be it for now. I know I didn't have too many thoughts or something super specific, but John beheaded in prison, his head brought on a platter and given to the girl. She brought it to her mother. This is what people will want to do to you. They'd like to have your head on a platter. What happened to the days of just taking somebody and burying them without costing 30, 40 grand or whatever? Even the dead put a burden on the living. It just doesn't go away, does it? Even when it's buried, it's not buried. I guess the world worships the dead. It praises the dead and not the living. Respect the dead. Have compassion on the dead. You know, the saying. Someone gets real angry when someone doesn't respect the literal dead now. Not that someone should do any kind of evil. That's not the point. But now you're going to respect the dead when they're dead? You can't. It's over. The works are in a bag somewhere. It's done. It's like cemented in stone. Whatever someone did to someone, it's over. There's no repenting now. There's no going to that person and saying, well, I'm sorry for what I did. Can't do that while they're dead. It's over. How do you repent from that? I guess it's a thought to be real careful what we do. Because you can't speak to the dead. The people try. And they shouldn't be disrespected. But there's really no such thing of respecting the dead now. You know, they don't hear, they don't see. The thing that the world does and says all the time, it needs to take some kind of false righteousness. It has this weird false self-righteousness about this thing. It's doing it out of severe guilt for all the evil things it did to that person that's now asleep. That's why it's a guilty. It's really easy to respect someone now that they're dead, because that's what you wanted for them, right? That's what somebody wanted for them. Curses and death. And then when it happens, well, now I really respect the dead because I'm actually thankful and praising, giving praise that the person is dead secretly within. But on the outside, I'll pretend to care. I'll pretend I'm sad, but I'm actually really joyful. Then I'll take a stand here. You better respect the dead. When somebody does something, maybe they see them doing something to the person that's dead that they've done grave evil to all their life. Now someone else is doing something and it's not a good image, and now that person goes, "What are you doing? Have respect for the dead." And they act all righteous now, like a shining star. That's a guilt talking. That's what that is. That's a guilt for never doing good to them while they were alive. Now you're going to try to do it while they're dead? Too late. Hard to do something good to someone that's while they're alive. That's real hard. Hard to do good to someone you don't like that does evil to you while they're alive, but it's pretty damn easy when they're dead. Everything man does is easy. See, that's another easy thing, an easy way. It's the easiest thing to do, is to do evil. If it's evil, it's an easy way. If it's good, it's the hardest way that can be thought of. It's the hardest thing to do. All good is hard, and all evil is easy. Every detail, every law, everything, all of it fits within those words. If it's evil, it's easy. If it's good, it's hard. It's difficult. It shouldn't be, but that's how corrupt the heart is. It's how evil it is. It's so evil and corrupt that it's hard, it's difficult to do good, and easy to do evil. Although he wanted to put him to death, he feared the multitude. Sometimes strange reasons, the crowd, other things, reasons stop someone from what they, want to do. It gets in the way all the time because they counted him as a prophet. But when Herod's birthday was celebrated, one verse that I know of there's two verses in the entire scriptures, Old and New Testament combined, about a birthday. And it's about the wicked that represent the wicked, Herod and Pharaoh, I think. In the Old Testament, Pharaoh wants somewhere about a birthday. And in the New Testament, Herod, being his birthday celebrated. Yes, this is what the world does. It celebrates and worships itself through its birthday, of which is all selfishness and pride, and has nothing to do with truth. I don't see a single command for us to do that, to worship ourselves, to worship and demand others to like praise you and worship you because of your birthday. Where is that command? It doesn't exist. So this is how evil and weak man is. He didn't even want to necessarily do that at the time, anyways. But because of the oaths and because of those who sat with him, see what other people think of you, what they hear, very powerful. He commanded it to be given to her. He didn't want to cut John's head off, not at that time at least. He didn't want to go that far. That doesn't make him good. It's just that he didn't want to do that at that time because we read he was sorry. You know, maybe there was something about John, a little piece of John that he liked, you know, a little something about him. But nevertheless, because of the oaths and because of those who sat with him, how much do others persuade self to do whatever it does because it's not supposed to? But when you're a king, all these things grow even bigger and stronger, meaning it gets worse. You become even weaker, meaning what other people think of you, what they perceive you as, what that king is saying, what do the people think of me? All that stuff matters even more to be a king than the bum on the street. King Herod is worse off than the bum on the street, than a nobody. This is even worse now for him. It gets worse. So he commanded it because he loved and cared about what people think of him. He did a gruesome evil because of what people think of him and because of what, well, King Herod said this. He made some promise. Will King Herod not keep his promises? Someone from the video, the Jesus of Nazareth video. You remember that clearly with a weird accent, strong, weird lady there. What will the people say? Will King Herod not keep his promises? Oh, I gotta, no, no. Yes, no, I don't want to. Yes, says the lustful girl. Yes, his head. No, like a crying baby. He can't do anything about it. He's a little baby. No power at all. Weak, worthless, no power. You know, I wouldn't be that far off, I think, if that's how it actually went down. You know, I know the movies make details up and stuff, but like, I could see that happening. You know, something he didn't want to do, to cut his head off. And he didn't want to do that at that time. And he's going, no. He's looking around. He's looking at his wife or committing adultery with, whatever. His brother's wife or whatever she was. And he's looking at the crowd, sweating. And he had to do it. What a trap. That's such a hardcore trap. How to not be in that trap in the first place. What a trap. Let me check. Test? Okay. Should be working the whole time. All right. Okay. Is there anything to look forward to about this world tomorrow? there anything to look forward to if you don't look forward to the things that normal people do? Like making lots of money, like screwing people over, lots of adultery, the things that move people. If those things are all dead, is there anything to look forward to concerning this world, from the world? There's nothing to look forward to about this world. And things of this world, nothing. It's all coming to nothing, like we read. It's coming to nothing. This world's coming to nothing. It doesn't look that way. It doesn't look that way to people. It looks like a very powerful world with many great nations and cities standing. It looks like it's standing, therefore it must be standing, right? When the question is who can stand and who on earth is standing, and it's basically no one, but it sure looks like it's standing because people are literally standing everywhere. That's why it stands. And all the church worlds and all the denominations of religion, they look like they're standing. Messiah's words don't look true. And if something is divided, how on earth can it stand? Meaning he's saying it doesn't stand if it's divided. But it sure looks like it's standing, doesn't it? This is that enmity constantly between the truth and the lie. This is seeing the image and that everyone will believe the image and not the truth. They will believe whatever the easy image is. If the image is a smiley face, then that's what people will believe. Because look, see how strong it is. Look at what it looks. This is a smiley face because it looks that way. This is what we believe, whatever image we see. I guess a bad example, but it's a literal image. Whatever it looks like, that's what people will believe. If someone looks like they're happy and smiling, that means they are. Because they're smiling. That means they're happy. No one ever thought that the whole thing is an act? That someone's deceiving everyone around them by putting it on? Acting like there is no sin in its soul, acting like there is no judgment from above for what it's done all its life, all the sin it's not repented of, that it just smiles and walks around freely as if it's not in a prison. Some serious deception, because it's in a prison of sin to its own self, a slave to its own self. Does anyone believe that? No. Nope, the world doesn't believe that. It doesn't believe anything that's true. I guess we have the new heavens and the new earth to look forward to. Not so much this world and what the world does, which is only evil, and more evil's coming. That's certain. More chaos and tragedy is coming, and that's certain too. So there's really nothing good, but we're not supposed to call it good. We're supposed to not love this world or any of the things in it. And who's following that command that Messiah spoke and taught? Love not the world or any of the things in it. Isn't it a requirement by a worldly king to love the world and all the things in it? Hello? Are we stupid? Isn't it a requirement to love the world and all the things in it, and someone's going to believe that person's a believer or righteous, a good man, godly? What is this? Did they forget that verse? Love not the world or any of the things in it, with your heart. Do not love it with your heart. Why? Because it's all evil, because it's all corruption and lies. it's all a deception, that stage actors on the grand stage are acting out, that you can't believe a single word anyone says at any time. You can't believe the news. You can't believe anything that anyone says or does. It's a requirement as a leader of something in this world to love the world and all of the things in it. If you're a leader of something, you know, a company, whatever, if you're like a representative, whatever, in office, governor, president, you know, all these positions, it's a requirement to love the world and all the things in it. It's all they talk about. It's all they do. Truth is not on their mind, ever, never. More war, more death. That's on the mind. It's through some kind of working delusion that someone goes to war, you know, and is moved by the devil, moved by their own evil heart. The Father like allows it. He purposes something for a judgment, but he doesn't actually do it himself. He doesn't tempt any man to do it. He does it in a way that has nothing to do with him actually doing it. And that's going to be an abomination to believe and understand too, because it sounds stupid to people. Every truth is going to sound stupid to the stupid. To the fool, all things are foolish that are of the truth. And then the more somebody is of the truth, the more foolish the actual foolish and stupid things become to the person that's learning truth. Foolish things actually become foolish the way it's supposed to be. But to the world, the truth is still fully foolish. It's vain, it's empty, it's worthless, it's evil, it's garbage, it's all these things to it. Like we read, you know, about it's to them, to the carnal man, to the natural man that does not receive anything from above, from the Spirit. The truth will be foolishness to him. It's going to be all foolish to his heart, to his mind. He's going to actually believe it's foolish. That's why we read that, because he will really believe it and think that. And then a believer sees how that's true. And then it's just another tribulation to see how that's true. Oh, Babylon, 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 Babylon. Oh, it's fallen, it's fallen. And we read about all the different merchandise, all the different items that were bought and sold. She smokes, she smokes. And even the souls of men were exchanged and sold at the very end of that giant list, well, that big list of different kinds of merchandise and fine linen and wine and cups and gold and silver and whatever, all those things that represent all these things. And then the souls of men also were exchanged. The very souls of men were exchanged just like that dead merchandise, just like that worthless merchandise. The souls of men thrown right in there. That's how much somebody loves self-gain, is that it'll sell away and exchange the soul of a man as if it were a piece of merchandise. That's how important somebody is to them. They're worthless to them, nothing. To the Egyptians, the slave is a worthless nothing, a dog, worse than a dog. That's how the leaders of this world see us. Somehow people can't see that, don't believe that, because they sell an image, don't they, on TV that they're kind and good and funny and they care about you. No, they don't. No, they don't. One thing's for sure, they don't care about anyone except themselves. You're a dirty dog and I'm a dirty dog to them. And yet everyone votes for them and puts them in power. And even that's a delusion too. I'm not sure there's anything in this world that isn't a delusion of some sort. One day these numbers are all going to stop. All right, I think that's it. Peace, take care, seek truth.